So we were stuck with Tama, so I think for Tama's thing we have to jump over here to her. Oh, now I know how that feels. That's a terrible feeling. To be continued. Hello, Fury. Let's jump over to Tama. Back to Tama. I had passed by a man I know earlier. The sales, blah, 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 blah. Should keep my fingers crossed for the guy. Okay, I'm gonna try saying... try to take it off. Still can't get its thing off. Yeah. And see if that changes anything. Time to skin this cat. Oh, that's a different... The exact origin of the phrase "there's more than one way to skin a cat" is uncertain, a matter of some dispute, although it appears to have arisen in the latter portion of the 19th century. It's hard to imagine why anyone would want to conjure up such a gruesome mental image. I need to get rid of this costume, whatever it takes. I take hold of the head in both hands and yank it upward as hard as I can. Oh! Please tell me I'm not just imagining things. That feels a whole lot looser than it did before. I give it a good enough push, then maybe... Ah! My head came off. It comes off! I did it! I slipped out of the rest of the cat costume and gleefully abandoned it as I head for the knick-knack shop. Dang it! Still a keep out. That's weird. That's weird that both deciding to keep it on or not were led that way. Right, yeah, Kano I can't do anything about right now, so I guess all that we can do right now is Achi's, where they pass by the street fight, right? Or they're a little past that, I guess. Right, we caused the traffic jam, which made Kano not get to the ambush where he died. Multi-vehicle pileup, okay, in a matter of moments, the street was clogged with a long line of stopped vehicles, so let's see where the decision here was. Okay, that was crazy. Until we panted and caught our breath. I think we saw this. Idle feet are the devil's playthings. Hands, it's idle hands. Whatever, at least they got away. I was still, like, I'm just thinking about the possibility that Tama is the sister, and I was still stunned that the doctor's story of, like, it taking an hour to get to, like, where he placed and everything, when it was just talking about that, like, whole, you know, virus, you know, that they had created, and all of a sudden it turns out that he was the father of the kidnapped girl, and you're like, wait a minute! Like, that was a good twist there, that they're like, oh, that's why he's here. So, I mean, Tama has to be, aside from the fact that she just keeps weaving in and out of it, she has to have some importance. Okay, 1 second. Come on, let's go. Achi led the way down several twisting side streets before slowing his pace. By now, Hitomi was slumped and panting heavily. He wanted to give her some time to rest, but if they just hung around, their pursuers might still find them. He looked around and spotted a multi-tenant building. The nearest door was open. Bundles of flyers were set out near the entrance. Flyers for Au Revoir, the 22nd performance by the theater troupe The Wandering Angels. It tells the tale of a man named Ryu looking back on his 100-year life as a warrior. The performance features wire action as its major set piece, with Ryu and his rival Shido flying high through the air, doing battle with the magical Murasama blade and beam saber respectively. That sounds cool. I want to see that. Achi peered inside and saw piles of plywood and painted lumber. It looked like this is a storeroom for a theater's stage props and scenery. We can hide out in here, he said. But... Hitomi hesitated, but Achi gave her hand a little tug. It'll be fine, there's nobody around. They stepped inside the storeroom and Achi quickly shut the door behind them. We should probably rest for a bit, he said. There was a wooden platform set up beside a large piece of plywood. Another one of these. Achi picked up a magazine that had fallen on the floor and spread out atop the platform's dusty surface. Here, now you can sit without getting your clothes dirty. Thank you. Hitomi quietly took a seat. We should probably turn off our cell phones, Achi said. It could be really bad if they rang at the wrong moment. The two powered off their phones. You could put on silent. Achi took a cursory look around. It didn't look like there was any way in or out beside the door they come through. There was a single window set in the wall, but it wouldn't open far enough to let them through. Hitomi let a quiet gasp. Someone was outside the storeroom. Achi put a finger to his lips and Hitomi gave a fearful nod. The window's frosted glass blocked any real view in or out, so as long as they stayed quiet, they ought to be safe. Excuse me. Whoever was outside pressed their face to the frosted glass, trying to get a glimpse inside. The blurry visage of the foreigner who'd attacked them was dimly visible. Like the man who, with the cane before him, this guy was quick to catch up. There's gotta be a tracking device on her somewhere. No, he didn't find a bug. He found like a spider on her or something, like an actual bug, didn't he? And then she fainted. It was like a cockroach. The man pounded on the glass. Achi swallowed the lump in his throat. If this guy got in, they had nowhere to run. Achi turned to Hitomi. Let's hurry through the door. We're gonna sit tight and see what happens. We'll be fine, just sit tight. Hitomi clutched onto Achi's arm hard. Can I help you with something? Said a casual voice from outside. They saw their pursuer react at once, pulling back from the window. That's just our storeroom, you know, the voice added. Achi heard footsteps scampering away. Kidnapper had run off. Achi exchanged glances with Hitomi and let out a tiny sigh. There were more voices coming from outside now. What was up with that guy? I don't know. Oh, whatever. Let's just hurry and get the stuff tidied up. Man, my throat's raw. It sounded like a conversation between two men. Uh-oh, storeroom door opened and the men clumped their way inside. Tominari, Takaya, and Taro Toga, two members of the theater troupe, the Wandering Angels. Oh, okay, it's the people we just heard about. Takaya is the Wandering Angels star actor, playing the lead role of Ryu in today's performance of Au Revoir, the troupe's 22nd piece. Last night he slept completely naked and caught a cold, leading to the sore throat he has now. You know, that happens. You know, that's why you wear clothes or a blanket. Toga's the stage director, handling things behind the scenes. He's very irritated that Shinichi Bando, in charge of the props, seems to have gone AWOL. So what are we getting? Let's grab all these folding chairs over there. Yeah? The producer said we're gonna need a lot more seats all of a sudden. Mr. Wari said that? Going all out for the troops last hurrah, huh? Beats me, man. In no real hurry, the men went about carting the folding chairs away. They didn't notice Achi and Hitomi sitting silently in the shadows. Not to change the subject, but how come we're using a dry ice machine and not a smoke machine? Maybe that's why my throat's bothering me. Yeah, it's pretty weird. No one's even operating and it's still drawing a ton of power. Think it's effective? Achi and Hitomi waited for the two men to finish up. If they were spotted, it would probably cause a scene, or worse still, it might alert the men who were hunting them. Once they carried off the rest of the folding chairs, the men closed the storeroom door. The foreigner could still be somewhere nearby, though, so Achi decided they should hide out in the room a little longer. This blows. I want to get back out there to look for that blue van ASAP, but Achi trailed off as something occurred to him. Wait a second. Now that's weird. Huh? Hitomi looked at him inquiringly. The kidnappers already have the ransom money, yeah? Achi said. That's right. And then they told you that your sister was in some blue minivan. Isn't that kind of weird? What do you mean? Do you figure your sister was in the minivan by herself? Well, yeah. If one of the kidnappers were with her, they wouldn't need to send me to go get her. Right, Achi said. And yet the fact was that as soon as the kidnappers had their money, they could have let Hitomi's sister out of the vehicle and just run off. They don't have her. Oh my god, it is Tama. Oh my god. Not saying anything until the game confirms it. Did they lose her? Did they just not watch her and she woke up and walked off? We'll find out. A look of revelation dawned on Hitomi's face. Oh! That minivan had already left Dogenzaka, she said. And it came back while we were there waiting for it, Achi finished. He thought back to his earlier run-in with the blue vehicle. So then inside that minivan, there had to have been a bunch of foreigners inside. Which meant... probably both? Either? The kidnappers have been trying to ambush Hitomi. They told her that the sister was in the minivan to lure her to it. The kidnappers have been lying in wait inside. Do you think they were trying to kidnap me too? That's it! Achi clapped his hands together. And then they let your sister go and demand a ransom for you. And then they make her deliver the ransom money for your release. They'd be able to get, like, infinite ransom money by constantly abducting one twin after another. It seems a little far-fetched. Oh, yeah, I guess you're right. Now that she said so, Achi realized it was kind of a ridiculous idea. Still, what if the kidnappers really were trying to kidnap me, Hitomi said. As in, like, they accidentally abducted the wrong twin. I mean, I guess that would have been easy to botch up. That would imply that they wanted me specifically and not my sister. Hitomi paused briefly and thought. Maybe you're hotter than your sister or something? Achi suggested with enthusiasm. Hitomi shook her head. That can't be. If anything, it's the other way around. Compared to my sister, I'm just... Whoa, hey, stop right there. Achi had to interrupt her. You're not just anything. Please don't. I am just... Tears had welled up into Hitomi's eyes. Why does this have to happen to her? Why not me? Whoa, hey, come on, don't cry. I'm sorry. Cheer up. It's like that song says. Don't just stand there, wipe those tears away. That one. You know it? Is that Aya Kamiki? Aya Kamiki shows her face once more. Yeah, that's the one. Put your hand in... Trying to think what this sounds like. Put your hand in mine. Every single bee's a light. What does that mean? Huh? You know, every single bee's a light. I don't think that's the lyric. Until we let out a giggle. Everything will be alright. Take my hand. Huh? Take my whole life too. You got the lyrics wrong. It's everything will be alright. Alright, I guess that makes more sense, I guess. Achi's mouth curled into... I skipped that. Little smile. 'Cause I can't help falling in love with you. Alright, I think we've laid low long enough, Achi said at last. I think we should be on our way. He was about to get to his feet when he heard voices outside the storeroom again. Yikes, that was pretty careless of us. Yeah, we definitely gotta watch it. Theater got some earlier return and sounded a bit panic. The two members of the Angels. Takaya is the Wandering Angels star actor, but lately, in addition to appearing on their stage, he's been taking on TV drama and film work as well. Next role he's slated for is in Sun TV's upcoming suspense drama Sumo Queen 2, where he'll play the referee who utters the lame line, "Looks like things are getting heavy," upon discovering the victim's dying message and described in the corner of the sumo ring. That sounds great and terrible. Excuse me. Heard folks have been messing with the storeroom a bunch recently. Yeah. And did you hear who's behind it? Some juvenile delinquents. Like a gang? Wow, that takes me way back. What is this show? Ace Attorney? Yeah. Alright, let's hurry on back. Uh-oh. Achi rushed to the door. He tried turning the knob, but the door wouldn't budge. Oh, come on, are you freaking kidding me? Paced frantically around the room, pulling at his hair. We're locked in! The door was the only way in or out. Achi and Hitomi were well and truly trapped inside the storeroom. This is all my fault. Achi said it was my idea to hide out here in the first place. He bowed to Hitomi repeatedly. We're never going to be able to find that blue minivan now. Guess we'll have to get someone on the outside to help us. We'll have to get someone on the outside to help us, Hitomi replied. She scowled thoughtfully. They powered their phones back on in order to call for help. Oh, Hitomi chirped. That's me. She took a look at the LCD display. It's an email from Mr. Tanaka. Ah, okay. Tom began typing out a response with practiced ease. They're totally tracking our phones. More wild delusions rose in Achi's mind. Ideas or fantasies conjured up in one mind with no logical or factual basis. People can become deluded for varying reasons, but about a whole host of different subjects. Thankfully, Achi's delusions are of an ultimately harmless sort. See, this just reminds me of ultra despair girls. Stealing a quick glance at Hitomi, he noticed her gazing happily at the phone screen. His delusions ran even more wild. Uh-oh. God. While he was still fretting furiously, Hitomi finished typing her response. So, what did you wind up saying? Achi asked. I explained the situation. That we're trapped in a storeroom. You've got some guys chasing after you and you're looking for some van? Yeah, I also asked the police to keep this a secret from my family and the police. Whoever this Tanaka guy was, Hitomi sure seemed to put a lot of trust in him. A short while later, Hitomi's phone chimed with a reply. She checked the screen in a flash, all eagerness. Achi couldn't help but ask. So, what's the Tanaka guy have to say? A hint of jealousy slipped into his voice. He says he's gonna try to find the minivan for us. Huh? If he just comes and lets us out, I can go look for it myself. He says he wants us to hide out here a little longer. What the hell, seriously? He says that if someone's after me, it's safer to stay where we are. Yeah, I'm ever running, Achi thought to himself. Tanaka was clearly pretty concerned for her, and there was really only one reason a middle-aged man would think like that. Alright, fine, we'll wait. Achi turned his own phone off, then slumped back in a huff. Isn't Tanaka like one of the detectives or something? After 20 more minutes in the storeroom, the two were sitting in silence. Achi had run out of things to talk about. Do you think you'll ever be friends again? You and that one guy, Susumu, I think it was? Oh, that was her question. Tomi's question caught Achi off guard. He stammered, unsure how to respond. Tomi shook her head. I'm so sorry. I barely know you. That was insensitive of me. No, it's alright. I mean, sometimes I wish things go back to the way they used to be, Achi said. He let out a tiny sigh. What that Kiryu guy said was the truth. I was the guy who founded SOS. Do you know what I mean by that? Tomi gave a slight nod. I mean, I never wanted to be in charge of a gang or anything, but I knew that if I left, SOS would just fall apart. And I didn't want anyone else to be getting caught up all over who would take my place, you know? So, caught up all over who would take my place. So I thought long and hard about it. Looking for a way for folks to stay friends even after I was gone. The loud voice echoed through the pool hall that served as SOS's HQ. An establishment for playing pool, more formally known as pocket billiards. This particular place is a pool bar serving alcohol. The standard pool table is rectangular in shape, sports 6 pockets, 4 in the corners and 1 in the middle of each long side, and supports multiple games including 9-ball, 8-ball, and rotation. There are also tables without pockets. This style is known as carom billiards. I've never seen the pocketless ones. What do you mean you're leaving? Susumu was positively red in the face. You're a founder, Achi. You can't just up and quit. Susumu had been almost like a younger brother to Achi. If anyone was going to try to stop him, Achi knew full well it would be Susumu. Look, I'm not gang leader material. All I've been trying to do is make sure we're able to have fun. That's not true, Susumu said. Think about all the stuff you taught us. Don't you remember? Every man gets to make one request in his life that cannot be denied. Those are your words, Achi. Did I say that? It's the heaviest thing you've ever said. Then to Achi's consternation, Susumu got down on his hands and knees. I'm begging you, please don't leave. Without you, SOS is nothing. Achi could feel his conviction waver. I'm begging you here, from one man to another. This is my one request. Susumu, I'm sorry. Achi could barely croak out the words. I'm leaving you in charge. You can't, Susumu, please don't say that. Achi turned his back to him in silence. Please, Achi, why won't you listen? I can't possibly beg any harder than this. Enough with all the request nonsense, Achi grimaced. What? Look at you, down on your hands and knees like that? Pathetic. Ultimately stems from... Wow, okay, we're alerting the etymology of the word pathetic. Stems from the Greek pathetikos, meaning subject to feeling or capable of emotion. Over time, the meaning changed to signify exciting the passions, and later on, the more modern sense of arousing one's pity. Achi spoke as harshly as he could, fighting to mask his true feelings. I'm fed up with you. All of you. With each word out of his mouth, Achi could feel his own heart breaking. But if he could make the others hate him, at least it would give SOS a reason to stay together. How can you say that? Don't try and pull that crap. Suzuma's tone had changed from sadness to anger. Fine then, he railed. I'm never asking you for anything again. I'll do what you want. I'll take the reins of SOS. Achi walked away, waving vaguely without looking back. Good luck. I mean it. Once he stepped out of the pool hole, he wiped his sleeve across his face. It came away wet with tears. Oh. Sometimes I think that maybe I could apologize to those guys and we could go back to the good old days again. But that's never going to happen, not unless Suzune gets better. He stared in the distance at nothing in particular. At least he'd sort out how he felt about his former pals. Is there nothing that can help your sister? Hitomi asked. She needs a heart transplant, and the problem with the heart transplants is that the timing is tricky. Yeah. The act of surgically implanting one person's heart into another body. Such an operation is typically only performed on a patient with severe heart disease who cannot survive without a new heart. There are strict requirements that must be met before a heart can be transplanted, however, chief among them that the donor must first be brain dead. Even if there's a donor available, the transplant has to be performed within 4 hours, where things get dicey. Because the lack of oxygen causes damage, refers to as warm ischemia damage. In any organ removed from a human body, transplant must be carried out and blood circulation restored within a certain amount of time, a certain time window, known as the total ischemic time. In the case of a heart transplant, total ischemic time is only 4 hours. Helicopters and charter jets are frequently used to rapidly transport hearts for such operations. Oh wow, I didn't realize. Someone with a heart that's a match for Suzune would need to die somewhere near her, somewhere that could perform the surgery within the 4-hour window. The odds of that happening are so small it would be a miracle, which is what my sister's been waiting for. Achi thumped the left side of his chest. If my heart would do the trick, I'd gladly let her have it. Damn it, I've got a strong heart too. He thumped himself on the chest again and again. He didn't mention it to Hitomi, but Suzune's blood type made finding her a heart transplant even more difficult. She had Bombay blood. What is that? A type of blood that does not correspond with ABO or AB. What? Is that real? I guess it has to be if it's in one of these things. In some instances, a standard blood typing yields a result of O in such individuals. First discovered in the city of Bombay, now Mumbai, on India's west coast, the blood type takes its name from the city due to its relative high incidence rate among the inhabitants. That's wild. I'm O positive, so like, I have a rare. I don't know. Is O rare? I think O negative is really rare. But yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that there was one that didn't really fit into the schemes of things. Rare blood types. Rare blood types such as Bombay are scarce enough that even nationwide blood centers seldom have them in sufficient supply. For this reason, when such blood types are discovered in everyday testing, samples are quickly taken to be frozen and stored at temperatures lower than 80 degrees below centigrade. O is rare, especially negative. Oh. I know O can be used a lot because I've been getting calls from the blood center that I used to donate to, like, on a weekly basis now. But I'm not in New York anymore, so I can't just go and donate to them. But now that you're O negative yourself, nice. Now that I'm done with cancer, hopefully, I actually want to look into donating blood more regularly. Because it doesn't really, it's not going to hurt me too much, but it'll help people. Apparently there are only a few dozen people in all of Japan who had it. If Suzune were ever to receive a heart transplant, it would need to be from someone who also had Bombay blood. Achi? Hitomi sounded like she was on the verge of tears. Wow, she must feel really bad for Suzune. If you did manage to find a heart for your sister, what would you do? What do you mean? Say if you happen across someone who was a donor match. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I would do anything. Anything? Yeah, whatever it took. I'd risk my own life if it meant helping Suzune. I mean, at that point, I'd assume God had granted me a miracle or something, you know. Uh-oh. Does she have it too? Mr. Tanaka? Unfortunately for these two, it's not Mr. Tanaka. Right now, Tanaka is at the Osawa residence on his way to speak with Kenji Osawa, who's washing dishes after lunch. That's what I thought. So that would take us over there, but I need to see where this ends. Tommy's voice was barely a squeak. For a moment, all was silent. Maybe it's just a cat? Wow, okay. No, it's not a cat. And it's not Tama, wherever the heck Tama is. Or not. The doorknob rattled ominously. You really think that's Tanaka? Achi asked. I'm not sure. If it were him, I think he'd probably say something. Achi grabbed Hitomi's hand. We'd better hide. The two of them slipped behind a large piece of plywood stage dressing. The door swung open with a loud creak. In stepped a cat. Oh no! Oh no! That's not Tama! We left the... Oh, it's just a kitty cat. We left the costume. A giant kitty cat walking upright. Achi and Hitomi stared in confusion as someone in a cat costume slipped into the room. There was something vaguely sinister about the fuzzy figure. Oh, he's in the costume to avoid being arrested. Cat had both hands stuffed into its pockets and it shuffled as it walked, dragging one leg. Is it the cane guy? No way. You think that's someone with the theater troupe? Achi whispered. Maybe? The two huddled in shadows, pressed almost cheek to cheek. They watched as the cat rifled around inside of one of its pockets and then pulled something out. It was a bundle of keys. No doubt the ones I'd used to get inside. Achi's eyes fixed on the furry mitt that held them. Uh-oh. It was stained dark red. That could be only one thing, blood. In that moment, Achi realized just what was going on. That's no theater guy. That's no Moon. It was the assassin. He'd used the catsuit to slip past the theater people and had somehow gotten his hands on the storeroom keys. Now he tossed the keys away, then delicately adjusted the costume's wobbly head. Hitomi, we gotta run. Huh? Hitomi seemed frozen, mesmerized. Why is the face bloody also? The cat turned directly toward them. The fur around its mouth was stained crimson. Why? Why that? Oh, there we go. That is a beautiful, beautiful picture. Hitomi let out a high-pitched cry of shock. The cat drew its other hand out of its pocket. Clutched in its mitt was a gun. Achi and Hitomi had nowhere to run. Nowhere to hide. To be continued? Nope, bad ending. Okay. What's up with the cat? Disguised in the cat costume, the killer managed to corner Achi and Hitomi, but where'd he get that costume? As it happens, it's Tama's fault. She tossed the suit away after taking it off, allowing the assassin to find it and use it to deceive the theater troupe. No! Okay, fine. Let's go back to Tama then, and not take... What do I do with the catsuit? Excuse me. Guess the cat's staying in the bag. Okay, so that's gonna go back to the keep out though. So does that change what's... It does change what's going on here. Okay. Suzune's illness, yeah. Oh well, we have to stick with the stupid costume. Sometimes I think that maybe I could apologize to those guys and we could go back to the good old days. I think we saw all this. Okay, so there's no way that Hitomi doesn't have that blood, and now she's contemplating what's what he might, you know, do if given the proper incentive. Excuse me. Swallowed down the wrong pipe. Oh, no, he didn't mention it to Hitomi. No, okay, I'm wrong. He didn't mention it to Hitomi. So we're good. Okay, so we're gonna skip past this. Da, 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 da. Mr. Tanaka? Okay, so all was silent. Maybe it's just a cat, or not. Someone hit the door hard. It sounded like they were trying to break the lock. You really think that's Tanaka? Achi asked. I'm not sure. If it were him, I think he'd probably say something. Achi grabbed Hitomi's hand. We'd better hide. The two of them slipped behind a large piece of plywood stage dressing. So is this gonna end badly regardless? The door swung open with a loud creak. Okay, it is the cane guy. In stepped the man with the cane. What the heck? Achi whispered. What's he doing here? He's following your cell phone. Gun drawn, the assassin prowled slowly around the store. Achi and Hitomi crouched behind the plywood prop, trying to not to make a sound. The man moved out of their line of sight. Achi gazed longingly at the door. Achi risked peeking around the corner of the plywood. He still couldn't see the man with the cane. The door was maybe 5 meters away. What should they do? Let's just make a run for it. They need to make a run for it. Achi took a firm grip on Hitomi's hand. Suddenly, they heard the sound of a cell phone vibrating from behind a tall piece of plywood leaning by the door. The assassin stepped out from behind it. If they made a run for it, they'd probably have bumped right into him. That was a close one. Well, never mind then. Achi wiped away a few beads of cold sweat. I'm sure this is the place. His voice was low and confident. Uh-oh, did he have friends? Still clutching his phone, the assassin wandered deeper into the store. Achi and Hitomi took the opportunity to slip out the door. So is he working for Mr. Tanaka? They ran through the alleyways back to the main road. Before they reached it, however, they suddenly found their path cut off by one of the foreigners who chased them earlier, the accomplice of the man with the pipe. What's with all of you? He stood waiting for them, holding a knife in one hand. Out of the frying pan and into the fire. If they turned back, Achi knew the man with the cane might catch up with them, and he had a gun. Achi slipped off his sleeveless jacket and wrapped it around his left arm. He was going to have to use his left arm to guard against the knife while punching with his right hand. He clenched his fist and braced himself. And then suddenly, he froze. Huh? A small dark silhouette dropped from somewhere up above. Landing deftly, the newcomer lunged forward toward the man with the knife, closing the gap between them in the blink of an eye. What the heck? Ah! The figure delivered a swift chop to the back of the man's neck. Who? He dropped to the pavement like a dead man, finally giving Achi a clear view of the shadow behind him. Oh, buddy. Achi couldn't believe his eyes. It was a small-statured young woman with Middle Eastern features. Whomst? Hitomi let out a little gasp. Kenan? What? Who? Okay, fine. Another to be continued. Wild.